second. You did this memory of when you played baseball with us. Remember playing baseball with us?
Most vivid memory of the time when we lived in Dublin?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I got about 100 of them. Most vivid.
So are we starting or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I remember that always the fun thing about going to the lake, after I learned how to sail, we used to take people who hadn't been sailing before out into the sunfish, and then especially on a really windy day, and then you start really hiking it up so that the boat goes up like this.
Oh, wow.
And then they think it's going to tip over, so they jump in the water, and then you keep on sailing. That was always a fun thing to do. But occasionally you went too far and you flipped over the boat. So.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you didn't have a mean bone in your bottom.
Yeah, what about Jim and I swimming the lake? But the youngest people to ever swim Dublin Lake. We swam a
The
mile.
length of the lake.
Record still stands to this day.
We swam a mile, and it was freezing cold, and they had somebody in a rowboat, making sure you weren't going to drown, but we were...
What were we like, 8 or 9?
Maybe 9 years
Wow.
old. We swam
9
the
years
whole...
old?
Yeah,
Was
'cause
that
I
16,
did it-
17?
Yeah.
I did
16.
it probably when I was like 11 or 12.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, 1916, 1917.
I think we had to do that to pass your senior life set.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were all senior lifesavers because
What
there
did
was
that
a
red
lady at
button
the beach
Record.
that was a lifesaver
Don't touch
instructor,
Yeah.
and she was really
It'll make it
good.
stop
I mean,
recording.
we got some good stuff
I
out of
went
it.
up to the beach one day and I said,
Wait,
it's
make it
2
stop
o'clock,
recording.
the tide's coming in. Everybody moved their blankets. And after they moved their blankets, they all looked at me like,
What did you say what Mike was doing? You went looking for Mike one time?
oh yeah. All the kids are home except Mike, so I go up to the lake and I'm looking for Mike and I said, you know my son Mike? And this little girl said, yeah, he's behind the building there playing kissy face.
Well, I was saying, when we were down in Peterborough, my memories of that park next to the river in the center of Peterborough there, it's after school, I used to bring my first girlfriend down there, and we'd go up into the woods and kiss in the woods.
Right, yeah.
Good thing you girls not here.
Yeah.
Louise, I can't remember her last name. Her first name.
Mike wants you to introduce you to your son.
No, just kissy.
Where did I go wrong?
Hey, at least they didn't throw their virginity away on a golf course when they were 15.
Oh, I was 14.
Oh,
That's why.
14.
He was a good Catholic boy, right there.
We were city kids, we didn't have animals. So.
Okay, erase tape. Cut that.
Yeah, right, yeah. The Dosher Christmas book and all those pages got ripped up.
I know. I never got to see them.
Censor.
My poor innocent kids might read this. Come on, give me a break.
Remember the first book you sent out, Dad? It was a little racy. Remember
yeah,
that?
that's what you're talking about. That's what I
that's what
ripped
you're
some
talking about,
pages out before
Yeah.
I let
Yeah,
them
we never got to see the story.
Unfortunately, you didn't rip them out quick enough, apparently.
Yeah, I think Jessica and Libby read them.
Uh-huh.
Well, that explains a lot, doesn't it?
You're the only ones with
My eyes were burning.
Well, what I remember is that
I like
was in
your
the
eyes
Brownies, and
burning.
they would never let me carry the flag because I was too little. But
Mommy.
every year we had a
I want-
parade right through Main Street, and it was a big
No,
deal.
I
and
wanna
I could
see
never
the-
carry the flag because I was
play.
too little. It's like
Afterwards.
they don't do stuff like that these days. They're not in that incentive.
No, everybody carries the flag. They give the flag to everybody.
Yeah, but I didn't
Yeah.
get to carry it because I was too small.
I remember something about Sue is that she was faster than anybody in the neighborhood. She could run any kid down, and that was it. So.
That was
Well,
bad.
we used to race around the house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See who could who could
Well,
finish first?
Like this house, we had a back staircase and a front staircase, so we could run like do circle loops around.
I'm not playing a game.
Chasing each other, trying to kill each other for
Yeah.
doing something.
Not
They
doing
didn't
a
know we
follow
were
either.
touching their stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and I was always, Jim was always trying to
Yeah, I
hang out
know.
with me and my friends when he was
Right,
little.
right,
And we were
right.
always trying to get rid of him. To the point where, you know, I'd have to fight him to get rid of him. And Jim was, you know, he's watching all those wrestling shows on TV all the time. So he's making these moves, you know, like these pro wrestlers, you know, like I ripped his head off, you know, he's stumbling around. He's so dramatic, and you know.
I'll never forget one time I was watching the three of you, Mom and Dad were out, and I did something, and Sue said, I'm going to call Mom and Dad. And she went and she grabbed the phone, and I grabbed it out of her, and I popped her on the head. And it made this really big sound. And she went running, she hid under the sofa, she wouldn't come out. You killed me, you killed me.
And the knot had those little dots on it, you know, just the perfect, yeah.
Well, remember the time that Jim and Sue were chasing me down the hall upstairs, and I ran into the bathroom, and it had that hook and eye
Yeah.
lock on it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, they're pushing on the door trying to get in. I'm saying, stop, stop, you're crushing my finger, stop, stop. And they didn't believe me. You know, they just, oh, shut up. And sure enough, my nail, in about 2 weeks, my nail came off.
Well, I saw
top of my
the, I
finger
saw
was
the
black.
finger sticking through the door. I thought it was a trick. I'll never forget Kathy's wedding. You know, they had beer in the fridge, and we were all running wild. The adults were drunk, and
Yeah.
I had like half a beer, and I went like face first down the stairs
and
just to see if I could do it. And I was like bouncing down the stairs. You didn't know that, did you? Wow.
Yeah, all the parties that Mom and Dad had, we were like dipping into the punch, you know, and running off
I'll
and
never
hiding.
forget,
and-
somewhere you got 2 beers from somewhere. I don't remember where. But you
Probably the fridge.
stuck 2 beers up, and you asked Dad, you tried to ask Dad, well, you know, can you put beer on ice? You know, is that, you know, like something people do? And Dad's like, no, I've never heard of putting beer on ice. But you were looking for a way to cool them down so we could drink them.
Oh, they were warm at that
They were
point.
warm
yeah.
at that point.
I remember the first time I came home drunk to the house. There was a guy, one of the instructors at the lake had taken 3 or 4 of us out to his house, you know, just to hang out. And he had beer, and he let us drink the beer. And I remember, I was like plastered, and I remember coming home and thinking, well, Dad was sitting at home, and I'm thinking, I'm not too bad. I'll just walk right in, and he'll never notice. You know? So I remember walking in and sitting down. That's like watching the ball game, and I sit down and say, hey, how you doing, Dad? Great. He says, well, I think I'm gonna go to bed. So I start going up the stairs. I'm stumbling up the stairs. The next morning, Dad comes and says, boy, you were really drunk last night.
Notice the white hair?
The only time I ever got drunk was at my high school graduation. And I was so sick the next day. Oh my gosh, I remember leaning over the railing at the top of the stairs, and Dad said, you want a beer? I'll get you a beer. And I was like, oh. That was the end of my 2-week career at the Peterborough Diner. Still there.
Yeah.
I went to work that day. It was like the color of the tablecloth. The owner looked at me and he said, you should go home. And I never went back. That was my last day.
Okay, I got one better than that. Last day of school in Tampa, Florida, at Lato High School, Sue and I pick up a quart each of Colt 45 and a straw.
Oh.
Drink that on the way to school.
Oh.
Last day of school.
Children, close your ears.
And
That's a nice kind of
so,
milk.
you know, of course, the day was like, I mean, you know, no work was done, but it was just kind of.
Jim, let's just stay with New Hampshire because we were still
Okay, yeah.
innocent and like nothing. I didn't do any of that stuff when I
I
was
think you
there.
were driving. That's all I want to say.
No, in New Hampshire, I was completely innocent. I didn't do any of that stuff. So I remember the last party I went to in New Hampshire, I was 13, right? And I go to this party, I'm sitting there, and everybody's gone. I'm like, the only person at this party. I don't know where everybody went. And they all were outside drinking and stuff. I didn't. Yeah, maybe they were kissing. I don't know what they're. I was not clued in. Okay, I was the only person sitting in the house by myself. I'm like, really? No one's gonna tell me what's going on. Horrible.
We had the, go ahead, Mike.
I just remember Kathy always being grumpy when we were growing
Oh,
up
she was
in
mean.
Dublin.
She hated all of us.
She,
Yeah.
but she was always listening to the Beatles.
Yes, yes.
And I mean, I really loved the Beatles. Just from her, listening to the Beatles
Yeah,
all the
I
time,
do
and wearing
too.
her John hat.
Yeah.
And I had a conspiracy against her. I was gonna get her for something. So, you know, we watched the Three Stooges, right? So I remember putting pins in the couch, like sticking them on, and then telling her to sit there. And then all your records got melted on the radiator, remember that?
Oh no!
Oh yeah, I put a whole pile of them on the radiator. And the next day they're like this, and like, oh my god, if she finds those, she's gonna kill me. I think I probably buried them or something. I don't know, but I couldn't have bared the wrath of Kathy. I was like, I don't know.
I don't think it was my Beatle records because I still had those.
Yeah.
When we went to Venezuela, the moving truck came and like took everything in my house, stuff we hadn't planned on taking, and one of them was my record cabinet. It was all full of my Beatle records. Now they were all scratched. I used to play them on a little one of those little phonographs.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dick said, I'm not bringing those home. So somebody bought them in Venezuela. They wanted
Really?
them that bad. I was
Wow.
like, you can have them if you want them. But
Wow.
There probably wasn't a lot of money then.
I know.
Beatles
Got them on my iPod now.
Originals,
I
yeah.
still have all my albums.
Yeah. Do you?
I have about 500 or 600 albums.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
you have a player for them?
yeah, I had to go. It took me a while to find one.
Yeah.
I have a record player.
Yeah.
Wow.
We used to have the open house on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I
Right.
used to make a big bowl of Christmas
Oh
eggnog,
yeah.
and that was really strong stuff.
Right. Really
But I
strong.
didn't drink it, so I remember one Christmas I had a case of beer, of Rheingold beer. And I thought made the eggnog, and I started drinking it like 11 o'clock in the morning. Well, I had 24 bottles gone by about 10 o'clock that night. And the Cudahy's come in, and they were kind of straight-laced.
Yeah, kind of conservative.
And I sat on the couch, and I couldn't open my eyes. And I said, Jim, I know you're here. Merry Christmas. And I just couldn't open my eyes. Couldn't open. And I got up the next day, and there was only one bottle of beer left. That was my record. Not a good record, but
I wonder if we asked Jim Cudahy about that night, what he would say. You know?
I'll never forget. Every time you opened a beer, you threw it in the little coal chute
Yeah,
thing next
right.
to the. And one time we got them out and counted them. I think there were 1,100 and something.
Well, it had only been 2 winners.
Where'd you get this?
Billy Locken
No,
came
you
up with
can't
his
have it.
kid.
It's true.
Yeah.
And it was a rainy
Put it
day.
away. Where'd she get it?
It was stuck in the house.
Yeah.
So I took the can and I dumped it out, and
And
we
we
were
started
playing with
counting.
the bottle
Yeah.
caps.
Yeah. We
Nice
counted.
thing to teach
It,
kids.
it took us a long
Play with
time.
the beer bottle caps, right? But that came in handy. I wanted to take them to flowers, but Mom wouldn't let me. It was like a souvenir. A memento.
Well, what about being in the TV room and saving your chair for 10 minutes?
Oh yeah.
No, yeah.
I
You
saved
gotta-
the chair for 10 minutes. I'll be right back. It's my chair. I save it for 10 minutes.
Oh,
and
yeah,
nobody
right.
else can sit in
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And if somebody was sitting there when you came back, you had to beat the heck out of them. And
Right. Right.
10 minutes went, no, it's been more than 10 minutes. No, I'm going to kill you.
Or we all sit there watching TV and Mom would fall asleep. The whole room would breathe with her, and she had sleep apnea, so she'd stop breathing, and we'd all stop breathing for a second. I'll never forget that. We used to race home and watch
Dark Shadow.
Dark Shadows.
Yeah, Florida Gators.
Yeah.
Remember Dad had the lounger, the Barca lounger,
Yeah.
and it was all like shiny and hard where his head was from the oil in his hair and stuff. You know what you used to put in your hair, all that stuff.
You'd be sleeping, watching football or baseball, and fall asleep, and we're all trying to change the channel. You wake up.
I'm watching that.
What the hell are you doing? Mom was reading one of these historical novels one time, and the minister at the church was one of these guys that he wore like a cape.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember him.
Tyrolean hat.
Yeah.
He looked just like Christopher
He
Plummer.
came to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
came to pick
Very
up one of
handsome.
these guys to babysit, and Mama just, in the middle of this book, and she opens the door and she goes, "Oh my God!" Oh, there's some guy out of the book. And we had the ghost
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
have
Yeah.
Fred.
Fred.
Yeah, Fred.
And I come home one night and she's telling me about Fred throwing up, and I opened up the other. I said, "Fred, get the hell out of here!" She said, "Don't watch it. Don't do that. You get mad at you."
That house was the creakiest house.
It
ever.
was.
I mean,
And
every
we
night.
had
This one.
Well,
the
Ouija board.
Ouija board.
The Ouija
Yeah.
Oh,
board.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I used to call him Mr. Luigi. She got mad as hell. But one night she tried to hypnotize me. So she had been to some classes. So I'm laying there, she's woman. I cracked up. She got mad at me.
Dad,
We bought that piano.
Yeah.
Nobody could play
Nobody
it.
complained. Yeah.
Everything she played sounded like the Star Spangled Banner, so we all stood up like this.
And then we got the
Oh,
organ.
wow, now I know
Oh,
why.
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember the organ, yeah.
alright, tell them about the wig shop that Mom had.
Oh, the
Oh,
big
yeah.
shop.
Yeah.
That was gonna be the moneymaker. That was gonna be the catalyst for.
the ticket to Easy
We
Street.
had this couple come over, the woman wanted a wig, and this guy had a bad stomach or something, and he had a lot of what you call flatulence.
Flatulence.
I used to call him the Blue Moon. The wigs were going on. And I hated it when she bought about 3 wigs, but I said, I felt like, "Please don't bring your husband. This guy's got the one of them." I think they were changing color.
I think I lost a fortune in baseball cards when we were up there in New Hampshire. I used to remember my room. I had the whole
Oh,
room
yeah.
plastered in baseball cards. And then one day, Mom said you gotta get rid of those things, so I just threw them all away.
Oh, man.
There's the Mickey Mantle,
Yeah, there's
Who knew that baseball cards are gonna be that
Didn't you guys
valuable?
do the airplane models and
Yeah,
from your
yeah, we-
feelings?
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Airplane models.
and the car models.
Yeah, car models.
I called the guy that Mom bought the wigs from. I called him Bruce the Hair Fairy.
I'm hearing
I thought I'd never seen that guy, right? So one night he comes to deliver some of the wigs, and one of the kids I had in Scouts, not the Scout, his father was there. And the guy wasn't too far away, and he said, "Is that Bruce the Hair Fairy?" That was the last thing.
That was his last delivery, probably, at the house.
Dad, do you remember what you told the principal of the school, the Dublin
Yeah,
inn? What did you tell him about your sons? Remember,
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
kind
he was a fruitcake, right? And he's going on these field trips. And I saw him right away, and I said to him, "Look, Mike was in school at that time, but you don't take Mike on a field trip." He said, "Why not?" I said, "Because he's not going on a field trip, all right?" So somebody else said, he's not, he's okay, he's just very intellectual. I said, "No, he's too damn smart for this place." My son, don't go on any field trip with him. That guy was as clear as a $3 bill. And nobody in Dublin could see it.
This is on
They
our
thought he was autistic.
public school. Okay, public school.
Yeah.
Really?
I never heard that
of. He
story.
goes, "I'm from New York." And Dad's like, "I'm from New York. I know what that is."
He's not just sensitive.
And the principal of that school, I was telling the boys this afternoon, they must have thought I was some kind of an athlete or something. They wanted me to go up and referee a basketball game. I know nothing about basketball, nothing. So they gave me a whistle, and the first game I refereed was the kids in Dublin against some deaf school
Yeah, I
kids.
remember that. I remember playing against the deaf kids. Yeah.
So the only thing I knew about basketball was jump ball. I think about jump ball. So then, another time she said, "We got a trampoline. We need to do something on a trampoline." So I go up and there's this beautiful looking little daughter, redheaded teacher, Miss O'Brien.
Oh.
And I looked at her and she said, Mr. Dosher, can you think of anything we do on a trampoline?
You remember the time, Dad? You remember the time with the Boy Scouts, we went on a winter
yeah.
camp? Oh man, talk about freezing cold. It was about 2 feet of snow on the ground. We have to pitch a tent and sleep in a tent.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, everything is wet because there's no way you can go in. You can go from outside into a tent without bringing snow in with you. So everything gets wet inside the tent, you know, and we're just freezing to death every night.
But the snow was so deep that when you laid on it, by the morning you were down, your body heat melted and you looked up and the snow was up there.
Well, you're supposed to put like pine boughs below, you know, underneath your sleeping bag to keep you off the snow. It didn't work. Believe me. We tried that. It didn't work.
And one whiny kid, I forget who it was, kept, Mr. Dosher, I want to go home.
Get up!
I was the worst scoutmaster in the world. I get lost in the woods. And I said to him, like, where are we, right? To the left. Okay, all right. I couldn't read a compass, I couldn't read a map. It's like me in the woods. I was the worst scoutmaster.
I remember at one of the we used to have to wear like a kerchief, you know, for the scout meetings,
Right.
and you had to like put some kind of a
Put a
tie
slide
thing
on
on
it,
the side.
yeah.
So Dad gave me his high school ring one time to use as a.
Oh no.
Remember that? And so, you know, of course, the meeting's over and we're all running around like crazy all over.
Yeah.
This was at the gym at the Dublin school.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And get to the end of the night, and I lost the ring, and I'm going, oh my God. And I was afraid to tell Dad because I thought he was going to kill me, but he didn't kill me, so I survived. But we never did find the ring.
That wasn't high school, that was grammar school.
Oh, was it?
We had 1942 on it.
Wow.
Wow.
And, you know, and a little tiny ring. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I cut you out of the way.
And that was my
You
memory.
went for a bundle too.
Wait, now my most vivid memory of Dublin school is I was the star of all the plays in 3rd grade.
Oh, yeah.
And then the full auditorium, opening night for the play. And I totally get stage fright. I totally get up there and I go, ah. I can't say anything. And the teacher's like, I got that. And it was almost like the hook came out, you know, the cane. Put it around my neck and just slow. I was done.
End of your stage
Never
career.
be in another play. It's over.
The career's gone.
It's over.
I remember in 3rd grade, we were doing a science project, you know, and the teacher said, anybody have chickens at home that could bring in eggs? You know, I do. So we had those chickens at home. So I'm bringing in eggs, you know, like every other day or
Oh,
every
the
week.
little bandy.
And we'd open up the eggs, you know, and see what the development of the chick was at that point.
Right.
I could never eat another egg until I was about 15. Couldn't even stand the smell of them after doing that. Oh, it was disgusting.
The embryo. I mean, every egg
Yeah.
you open had some stage
Right.
of an embryo in it. Like, gross.
That's what we've been eating. Yeah.
Well, I remember being in a play in Peterborough School. It was, what is it, the butterfly, something by the Mikado. And I was in, and we had to act like we were Japanese women, and we had black tights that we stuffed with stuff and put them like buns on It was hysterical. But that was a big deal to me, being in a play, and I was just a bit part, but I was so excited, and I can almost remember all the words. It
Oh,
was a lot.
I got one. So, you remember the Christmas vacation when the school burned down, right?
Yes.
And so we got news of that, like on the radio or something, and we're all sitting around. It's like a very somber thing. I walked in, you know, and what happened? Well, the school burned down. You know, it's like sitting there. I'm going, well, I got my Hot Rod Road book, like in the locker. Is that going to be okay? No concept of what, you know.
Do you remember going there and walking around? Do you
I
remember?
do. Yeah.
They didn't cordon it off or anything. You just go there and oh yeah, I remember where the cafeteria used to be.
Yeah, it's like nothing they would allow nowadays.
Do you remember all the mean stuff that you had to do when you first started there? Like the classmates would make you do all kinds of
Seniors would make you do.
the seniors
No,
would
I
make
don't
you
think
do
I was
it.
involved in
Remember
that. I don't remember doing any
They
of that.
got me bad.
Carol, weren't you bunking school one day with a bunch of kids and somebody called in a bomb threat?
Oh yeah, that was it was like during the Vietnam War, and it was like a moratorium day, and everybody was just jacking off school, and me and a bunch of girls, we rode down the road, to a dirt roads to some little pond, and all the girls went into the woods and changed from their school clothes as they were pretended to go to school that day. And then we brought something to change into. So we're out all day long and drinking and partying and swimming in the lake. And I left my purse in somebody's car and got a ride home. And I think it was Mrs. Babineau called Dad and goes, Carol, I don't know where those girls were all day long. They were out partying and everything, and she left her purse in her car with her panties hanging out. And Dad gets a phone call, and I'm already home, and I'm thinking I'm cool because I got away with it, right? And Dad calls me, and I go to the top of the stores. He goes, Mrs. Babineau says you got your panties in your purse? What did you do at school today? Yeah, I got
That only heard half of it.
but then I got to talk. I used to wish that you would beat us because you would sit down and tell us how disappointed you were in us.
Yeah.
How you really felt that we were better than that, and how you've just totally lost respect for. I just wish you'd take out a belt and beat me. Rather than have
I
to
never
sit
got
through
any
that.
of those talks, Kevin.
Oh, right.
Must be
I
just
was the
you.
only one.
Well, what about the day that there was a bomb threat? That must have been a different
Well,
day.
that must have been a different day. I didn't call in the bomb threat. I know that, but I think that's what they did. Was they called in the bomb threat for that day and said,
and that's how you had the day
and
off.
that was how we got the day off. Yeah, that's
This
how
guy was driving up one day in a pair of cut-off shorts and no shirt. I forget who was we're gonna pick up.
Wasn't
one.
that Harvey? Wasn't
He's
it
done
Harvey?
outside.
Harley Savage.
Harley Savage.
No, that wasn't Harley. I liked Harley Savage. That was the guy with the squinty eyes. I liked him. If one of you guys would have nailed him, he'd probably managing that store. Yeah, sure, go ahead, yeah.
Cut tape.
So this guy drives up in a cut-off shorts, no shirt. He's sitting out there beeping a horn.
That was for
I walked
me.
down there and said, "Hey, who you looking for?" "I don't know, what are you?"
Carol. Yeah.
I said, "No, you come in here. What do you got on?" He said, "We're going to the beach." "What, naked? We're going to the beach." "If you want to come back with my daughter, then you come back dressed." He took off, never seen a guy again.
I bet you I'll never forget when I had a date, some guy asked me to go see a concert in Waltham or something. And it was going to be Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I said, "Daddy, please let me go to the concert. Blood, Sweat, and Tears are playing." He goes, "What is that, an accident? Why would you want to go all the way over there and see that?" Let me go.
You
You know-
notice the white hair?
It turns out that guy that picked up half naked, he's the one managing that place over there.
You guys will be sitting pretty now.
I remember in fourth grade we were doing some kind of English lesson, and I think I had Mrs. Kluke as my fourth grade teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And
She was 4th grade. She failed me.
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was strict.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
so we're doing some lesson where you have to write some sentence out, and
She had
so
like jowls.
so we you know, we're going through the lesson, and she's calling on people to read out their sentence, and you know, I wrote mine, and it seemed like it was fine. I said, you know, this is kind of boring. Well, I'll change it. So like after lunch, they get to meet. I changed my sentence to, Mary Pickford does not have a big mustache. Mary Pickford was in our class. She was one of the girls in our class. Mrs. Cookie says, out of this room right now! She sent me out to the hallway for the rest of the day. And that was the first time I ever got in trouble And I had a crush on Mary Pickford too. She was really cute.
It was over at that point.
I was wondering why she didn't like me back after that.
Well, Mrs. Cookie made me be part of the lima bean experiment. And this is after I already stayed back. And she made me be part of this lima bean experiment where you had to like take a lima bean and put it in a paper towel or whatever, and they grow it.
Yeah.
And then she made us eat it. It was horrible.
She was mean.
She was a really mean lady. She had jowls like this that would go like this when she shook her head, and like her skin would go like that. Oh.
And she was like 4'11", so when she drove to school, you could see her, like you just see the head. She's looking between the arc of the steering wheel and the dash. She's like, there's Mrs. Spooky.
It's like the Wicked Witch of the
Yeah, probably like teacher of the year.
Now, can I see your lap, Mommy?
No, sweetie. One day from school, and he said, we have to do, instead of an experiment, he said, we have to do an experience. I said, okay.
I don't like the way this is starting.
Water in the can and boil it, and if you did it right, the can would collapse because you take the top off and the oil egg was out. So we put the water in the can, and we're waiting, and nothing happened. The steam went out of the can came to stay. That experience is working. Don't bring any more experiences home.
So wasn't the one where you put the hard-boiled egg on top of the thing, and it's supposed to suck the hard-boiled egg in?
Oh, that was.
Yeah, like a milk bottle.
Yeah.
That was a different one.
That was a different experience.
You told me I have to do an experience. What the hell kind of school are you going?
The problem is that by the time I got home, you were like 3 beers into it. It was like there was no experiment gonna be done at that point.
I told you guys today when Sharon, when Carol had to stay home from school, and I finally wrote a note to the school, and I get a call from the school, this isn't the right signature. Well, Carol was the only right signature they had all year. I was down to give another signature.
This is still a long
That
talk,
was a good visit by Sharon.
Yeah, it was. And she says now she works in the administration office at the school where we went to school. And she said kids bring in their signature, and she said if it's a really good kid and he's not usually, this isn't really your dad's signature, is it, Johnny? No. Really, I'll tell you what. Let's just pretend this never happened. But she said the other ones, the ones she doesn't like, she busts them all the time. I'm calling your mother right now.
I called them Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, we were bad. We were bad.
But the dog used to go up to the school and tap.
The dog? Yeah, he used to follow us. Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Go from class to class, and when he got bored, he'd come back. We had that white cat that was deaf,
Yeah.
and every litter in town had at least one white cat.
Is that the one that had the double paws?
Yeah, double paws.
Double paws.
I remember leaving him there. I remember driving away and
Yeah.
we left him
We
there.
couldn't find him.
Yeah.
He didn't want to
Well,
go.
apparently Sue found it.
Yeah, I saw him. I saw him on the stone wall as we were leaving.
But he was an outside cat.
Yeah, he
anyway.
was,
only came in
yeah.
to eat.
Yeah.
Didn't we leave Chip outside when we went to the
Well,
World's Fair?
somebody was watching him, yeah, and he sat on the
Okay.
front steps every day, watched every car that went by 101.
Oh.
And then when we pulled in the driveway, he kind of went like that, and then he did a double take.
I thought he was gonna have a heart attack. He was wagging his tail so hard when we finally got home.
Chip the dog.
Yeah, never seen an animal do a double take.
I remember the night that he died, though. Remember
Oh,
that?
yeah, I
He started
remember that.
foaming at the mouth, and he just was running around the house like crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Circles, yeah.
Yeah, he
I
died.
know.
Licking
I
on
was
the
away at
salt.
college, and I felt so bad. I kept thinking if I was there, I would have done something. I would have taken him to the vet. Why didn't they stop him from
Well, we
running around?
actually-
We didn't know what was
I
wrong.
think we
with him.
did take it to the vet. Didn't we lock him up?
I think after
It's
he
time
probably
to go
passed
to
out. because
bed.
Yeah.
I think they told you it was from
Time
the
to go to
licking the
bed.
salt, the
Yeah.
salt.
You know it's time to
Lick the
go
salt
to
on
bed.
the rope there.
Yeah.
And that time that guy hit the German
Time
Shepherd
to
with
go to bed.
He hit him with his car. The dog ran out of the yard and the guy banged out the car, put him in the car, and he took him down to the vet and he was dead. So he calls me up and he said, I hit your German Shepherd, but there's damage to my car. So I called the insurance man and he said, fine, tell the guy, you
Why
pay him
is so
for the
funny,
damage in the
Mama?
car, providing he buys you another German Shepherd, which costs $150. So I called the guy up, I said, I got a deal, I'll pay the damage for your car, you gotta buy me another Shepherd. How much? $150, punk. That German Shepherd somebody gave to me when after I had the heart attack.
Oh.
We didn't have it very long.
Oh, it was after we got married.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the girl called me, she said, how was you doing? I said, I put paper around all the place. You missed the paper by a whole room. He was a dirty dog. He wasn't very well trained. Sweetheart, you going out to the kitchen? Could you get, thank you, dear. Such a nice young lady.
I remember the laundry room, the mountain of laundry for
Oh,
5 of us.
Yeah.
And I remember putting Jim in the
I'm
dryer.
tired.
I play in the dryer all the time. You get in and you spin it, and one
No,
day
we
he
only
goes,
did that once.
so one day he goes, hey, why don't you just turn it on? I'm like, hey, good idea. So he goes in there, there's a little window in the dryer door.
Shut it off! Shut it off!
Turn it on, and Jim's face is like,
Yeah, that was the day I almost died.
the mom comes in, she goes, oh my God! And then she comes out later and she sits me down and she goes, now Sue, I don't know why you tried to kill your brother. I'm like, kill my brother? We were just playing. What are you talking about? I didn't try to kill him. Well, that would have killed him. I'm like, oh.
And I never grew after that. I remained small. True story.
I remember Jim being so serious. You remember? He's like a little old man.
Yeah, he's always dead. He's always
Right.
Okay, hold on, that's profiling.
We took everybody for a ride in the MG, going through New Hampshire, crazy, driving like a nut, and Jimmy said, I think you should better slow down.
Yeah, well, hold on. I was behind the seats, not in the seat, not strapped in, and I'm going like this.
I'm ready to fly off the back.
Yeah. I think I was even standing at some point.
We were trying to back up on the road that goes around the lake, like out to the lake club, and there was like a ditch there, and Jim was in the back saying, I think you went back far enough now, Dick. Don't back up any farther, Dick, because he was in the back and he was seeing the edge of the ditch coming.
Well, the MG was like that far past the seats, you know. It's as big as this table right here.
The car was as big as this table,
Yeah, it really was.
absolutely.
Well, I just remember Jim, like every night at dinner time or after dinner, he'd be acting out whatever happened to him put on this big performance in the dining room.
Oh, remember tickling each other? Did you
Yeah.
pick somebody to tickle to death?
Yes.
Oh my
And then
god.
we'd yell, "Ma, it's apple juice!"
But being tickled to death after dinner was horrible.
Oh,
I mean, your stomach was full and you're getting tickled to death by like 5 people. You're like, oh, just kill me. It's horrible.
I don't remember my stomach ever being full after
Remember the list
There was never enough food.
of things that
I remember your
the
father
kids
saying
had to do?
he was always worried about the plant in the middle of the table. Mike always had his eye at the table at the end of dinner.
I actually told Yuko that when he was a kid, he has to go around picking up bottles and taking them up to Charlie Craig's cashier to get enough to eat. And he was the one after he ate twice as much as everybody else in the day. Got over it. He thought it was a sin to pass the refrigerator around open and grab it.
Remember when we'd get a 6-pack of soda on those rare occasions? And the only thing you wanted to do was to finish yours really, really fast, because if you were the first one finished, you could ask for the last one.
I remember that.
But you didn't even enjoy the one you had, because you already had your eye on the second one.
I remember the first, when I first had a meal and when I was married and Mom was there and she had dessert, and it's like, she said, well, you want another ice cream? I said, do I want another ice cream? It's like,
Do I get it?
I was like,
What?
I didn't think I got another ice cream. And I was like, I was 35 years old.
I remember having fish sticks and macaroni and cheese
Oh yeah.
every Friday.
Every Friday.
To this day, I cannot stand the smell of fish and fish sticks.
My mom would always make me a fried egg, because I didn't like fish sticks.
Right, right.
So, of course, I did the same thing with my own children.
Oh,
She
yeah.
used to say, don't make them something special, make them eat. They might not like it, because I knew I hated fish.
I'll never forget. If you didn't like what was on the table, you can make a peanut butter and jelly
Right.
sandwich.
Yeah.
Or once we got older, we could make ourselves a hamburger.
But that wasn't the
We
case with
never
Kathy
had
at
to
the time.
eat if we didn't want to.
Not Kathy.
No, was she saying, Mom, was that like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, she was like that with all of us. Yeah, if you didn't like what was on the table, then
Oh,
don't
yeah.
complain. I don't want to hear it. Go
Yeah.
make yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Remember
You guys used to fight over doing the dishes.
Oh
no.
yeah. That was
Never got a
knockdown,
dish
drag
one.
out. Yeah.
And now they used to fight over who loaded the dishes, who one loaded the dishes. And then we got the stools, when I put that piece of wood, to extend it from the kitchen.
Right.
And we got these high stools.
Yeah.
Everybody's sitting around one day and Carol starts to fall. And she's saying, I'm not falling, Daddy. I tell you.
Well, the floor was tilted.
The floor
The whole-
was tilted.
the whole house was
In my
tilted.
defense, the floor was tilted, okay?
You put a marble on the floor and roll halfway all the way to the other side of the room.
Well, actually, they didn't square that house up until they
Till we
made the
left.
general store. They put a new foundation under it.
Well, and almost every night, somebody spilled their milk. It was usually me,
Yeah.
but somebody spilled. We all had a glass of milk. Somebody spilled the milk. Every night.
I got to the
why
point.
Mom made us use sippy cups to order 12.
I got to the point where, like in business, like when there's something like that happened, we'd go out to lunch and stuff. I got to the point where I could pick my plate up and continue eating. Because I had the experience.
I'm glad we trained you. Yeah.
Do you guys remember the night the skunk got in the kitchen?
I'll never
Oh
forget the
yeah,
night
the
this guy
skunk
got
got
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Remember when you and Mom were away somewhere, and the skunk got in that shed? The dog chased the skunk into the shed,
Oh,
and
yeah.
somebody opened the kitchen door, and now the skunk and the dog were in the kitchen.
Yeah,
Shut
right.
around.
And one of you guys are sitting in the watching television and petting his And I chased him in the kitchen, he peed on the kitchen, we never got the smell out. Never.
Oh my gosh, he sprayed in that kitchen. Remember,
Yeah.
left the yellow stain on
Yes,
it?
yes.
We couldn't sleep in the house for 2 days. We all slept over at the Bullard's house.
Yeah, we
Mom and
did,
Dad were
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
We all had to go sleep at the Bullard's house.
Yeah, we did.
And that was another house that didn't have any lock. There wasn't really any way to close the front door.
No.
No.
So, and there was no phone. The only phone was downstairs in between the kitchen and the living room.
Right.
I'm sleeping on the 3rd floor with the kids. I got to where I would take a shade roller off the window and sleep with it because that was in my paranoid stage when I was afraid somebody was going to break in. That was a creaky house too. Oh
Yeah,
my
that was
gosh.
a creaky
Every little noise I sat up and grabbed my shade roller.
We had I built that dog house for the dog and he never went in it.
Right.
And the downstairs bathroom was so cold we couldn't run the water in the winter time. So I had the tub taken out. And that's where we put the washer and dryer. So Christmas time comes and I take the dog house, and I put a creche in there.
Right.
I put lights on it.
Right.
And I took the bathtub and I stood it on end and I stuck it in the ground and I put a
Yeah.
statue.
Mary.
The Mary statue.
Yeah.
In Rhode Island, they call that Mary on the half shell in Rhode Island.
I'm over at the inn one night and some guy said, gee, that's a nice creche you got. Is that yours? And I said, yeah. And he said, what about that tub, And I said, well, there's a statue of the Blessed Mother. He said, you're a hell of a guy. You got Jesus in a doghouse and Mary.
Mary on the half shell. I got that.
Yeah, because everybody in Rhode Island does that.
And then the dog grabbed Jesus by the head and ran away.
I do remember that. Yeah, Chip running around
I
like
got it back and forevermore. Jesus had a cross.
with teeth marks. With teeth marks in the face. Yeah.
I gave it when we moved to Florida. I gave it to the sisters at the church that we And I said, would you like a nice crush, for the summertime? So I said, okay. So they took it, and then woman, the nuns came back and said, what happened to Jesus?
I do remember that dog grabbing that baby Jesus and running like the thing.
We all run after him.
Chip! Chip! Bring Jesus back. And then Mom had us totally convinced one night that we saw a UFO. Remember out in the field? Mom so believed in UFOs. I mean, she was totally convinced that they existed. And so she had us so psyched out one night. They weren't home. You guys were babysitting. We saw a UFO land in the field next to our house. I mean, it was totally, everybody, we believed it.
I must have been in bed at that point. I don't remember that.
And then one time we were in Florida, and Mom and I are driving down like Florida Avenue, and we're looking at the sky, and we're seeing these lights flash across, and it's moving, and we're like, oh my God, what is that? Mom's like, I don't know, what the hell is that? We kept looking and looking and looking, and we're like, I think it's a UFO. We got ourselves really like them over, and we got closer, and it was like a blimp with like a running message on it. We were really convinced we were about to see us out of sight.
Mom was always into that paranormal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she loved that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
The week before.
Yeah.
Remember the time you went up to Charlie Burt's and he was going to write you a tab? And he asked how you spell Dosher?
His counter was only about that long.
Yeah.
And this one old lady coming from around the lake, she was standing there and Charlie Bird was blind as a drunk, blind as a bat. And he's taking the stuff and he's antenna on and he'd rub it off. And all of a sudden the stuff was piling up on the floor. She only had about 7 articles and he said, $149. Woman almost fainted.
That's so funny.
I I was standing behind her, and I was trying to stop to catch the stuff. It wasn't working. Off the floor.
But remember how he asked you how you spell Dosher? And
Oh,
you
yeah.
said D, you just kept going letters after letters, and he kept writing.
I remember Charlie Burt, me and my friends got so efficient at picking up bottles. Remember they had a 5-cent return on it?
Right.
That's what we used for like gum and whatever.
Yeah.
So we got so good at it that one day he accused us of going out back and getting the bottle. And we thought, hell, that's not a bad idea. We never did. We never did. It's
I
like,
never thought of that.
no, I mean, we walked the roads and just to find them bottles.
Yeah, every day coming back from the lake, we used
Yeah,
to collect.
people used to chuck them out the window.
Yeah. Good enough for a Mountain Dew and a ring.
Or a ding dong.
Or a ding dong.
Ding dong. Or what was the other one? The thing was like a
Ho-ho.
sandwich. No, the
Oh,
sandwich.
devil dog.
Devil dog.
Devil dog.
Drake's Cakes. They were the best.
We were talking about the pear tree that we had behind the house.
Yeah.
And how we bought those pears like that.
Yeah, they were good.
Oh, yeah.
10 sweet pears. So we were picking them and eat as many as we can. And then I took a big bag of them down to the hospital.
Right.
Well, one day the health inspector came over and he said that whatever he had was a leach field, was all dried up. So we put in the septic system. And then the tree went.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
We were
actually
feeding it with our
feeding the
sewer.
Well, that was the tree that after I climbed out my window on that little shelf above the bottom porch, I'd grab onto that tree and get the rest of the way down.
If I'd have known that, I cut that damn branch off.
I just remember the pears at the end of the season, like in the fall, they would fall down on the ground and you'd have to go cut the grass out there. It was so mushy and disgusting.
Oh, sorry about that. Disgusting.
It was disgusting out in that yard after a while.
Do you remember sleeping in the field in the summer with no tent or anything, just a sleeping bag? Like we went up.
We had forts out there. We had some forts out
We
there.
had some forts out there too, but yeah.
Where was the field? Right next to the house?
Huh?
Where was the field?
It was right back of Dublin, where the
Where the
Dublin.
parking lot is.
Oh, okay.
No,
All
but
right.
there was a field in back too, and there was
Yeah.
a stone wall, and
Yeah.
we would kind of like stay by the stone wall.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, Dad would tell us about Hookman.
Man.
Hookman.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Remember
Now
the Hookman
there was a
story?
cement block, like little
Well, no, Dad
square,
built that.
right back behind the chicken shed.
Yeah,
And we stayed in there one night,
yeah,
about half the night.
yeah.
And then we
Because
all went, somebody heard something.
do you remember the Hookman? The
The
Hookman
story about the hook man?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the guy that escaped from the mental institute?
Yeah.
That was a scary one too, you know?
Yeah.
He used to tell you scary stories.
Oh yeah, if we were gonna go spend the night in the yard, he'd tell us a story about Hookman, or if you hear this like scraping, you know he's close by, right? He's probably out there scraping something,
I remember one summer I had a friend over. I think it was Dickie Durkee.
Dickie
Dickie
Is that a
Durkee.
real name?
Yeah, Dickie Durkee. was his name. And it was like a warm night, and we decided to sleep out on the screened-in porch, right?
Right.
So we had an ulterior motive for that, because there were two girls sleeping down the road, on that road that went by our house. That what was that, Lower Harrisville?
The back road,
Okay.
right?
Back road,
Yeah.
Yeah, she lived a couple houses down that road, and she told me she had a friend over that night, and they were going to be sleeping out in a tent that night. So we waited until everybody went to sleep in the house, and then we snuck out of the back porch, and we went down to this girl's house, and we're both in the tent with these two girls. We're probably like 13 years old, kissing and stuff, and I see this car come down the road, and I go, uh-oh. And sure enough, Dad caught us, I'm dead, you know. I'm caught, you know.
Was I good or what?
He said, where the hell have you guys been?
That's because Dad didn't get home till about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And realized you guys were missing.
Plus, it's something he would have done when he was.
Exactly.
Do you remember
Carol
that?
had the wedding in the backyard, and we had the priest down there after the mass and all. And all of a sudden I look around and there's the best man, what's his name, brother, the big tall kid.
Yeah,
He
Danny.
got some
Danny.
blood over the, you know, over the fence there in the backyard. And the priest is walking around and goes, oh my God! Pat's brother, that big tall
That's from
skinny.
Danny, yeah.
This this tape can never be released to the public.
No.
No, no.
If anybody runs for president, you can
Yeah,
never
yeah.
like
Erase
use
the
this
tape.
to blackmail
I think
anybody.
even vice president. At this point.
And that chicken that the Walkers gave us, the one that had, you know, all the mother used to go out into the woods. You wouldn't see it for 3 or 4 days, but she'd get back with her 15 or 20 little chickens. You know?
Remember Stumpy? The
Oh,
one
yeah.
that lasted through the winter, and then when she got up to move, she lost her feet. So
One froze off, yeah.
she just had a stump. She lasted a long
She
time.
did, yeah. Mary Walker's daughter took all the chickens.
Oh, yeah, she
And
did?
that one included.
Oh,
And then 2
okay.
weeks later, she got back with 2 eggs full of these little pullet eggs.
Yeah.
You needed about a dozen to
Yeah,
make,
you
to
did.
make a meal out of them anyway. But I fed those suckers. And who was it? You worked out in the,
In the donut place.
yeah.
Place.
And we used to bring home the stale donuts.
Yeah,
I had
big
about
bags of them,
6.
Oh,
remember?
yeah,
Six
yeah.
bird feeders out there.
Yeah.
They out
Chicken-
there feeding the
Chickens
birds
eat
all the
almost
time.
anything.
Yeah.
I think I ate a few of those still down
Oh,
there.
yeah. Yeah, they went over really big. But the
Yeah.
birds only got the really stale ones.
That was a donut that Mike didn't eat.
Our grocery bill plummeted there. 2 months.
We literally had bags of donuts that were this
Yeah,
tall
that big,
from the
50,
floor
right.
and full of all the day-old donuts, and we would just like dive into that bag and eat as many as you possibly could. So there were people
No
that
wonder
got
I don't
hard.
like donuts anymore.
I didn't eat donuts for like 20 years. I was like, oh.
And then you worked at a donut shop.
I did work in a donut shop, yeah, which was really.
You want to
yeah.
talk about that a
No,
little
we
bit?
don't.
Oh, why not?
We're talking about New Hampshire now.
Then when Kathy first got her license, she couldn't keep her out of the damn car.
Yeah.
So I had something in the back seat or something, and I look out in the car is gone. I called her somehow and she said, bring the car back. So she brings the car back, and it was all full of junk or something in there. I said, what happened to the car? She said, I don't know, Dad, you know. Well, she must have stopped someplace and got somebody.
I don't know, I don't remember.
I remember I used to take the car at night. You let me have it Saturday night. And I'd bring it back after partying all night long. And I remember coming home, you guys would come home from church and go, damn car smelled like a brewery this morning. What the hell were you doing last night?
Yeah, I really have to thank you, Carol, because you were in so much trouble
Yeah.
all the time. They didn't have, you know, time to worry about me.
I was alone.
Created a disturbance.
Yeah, Sean
Well,
came in on that because we're always yelling at Daniel, so Sean learned to fly under the radar, you know.
They had no energy to deal with me. I had to deal with
Well,
Carol.
that's like Zach too. It's like
We thought he was such a perfect little angel. Now we find out he was blaming things on Daniel and just standing there like,
Yeah.
You wouldn't blame them on
And Daniel did so much
just
bad
let
stuff
Daniel
that he
take the
thought,
blame.
oh, maybe
Yeah.
I did do that.
we just automatically blame Daniel. When Daniel did so much stuff bad, he didn't know if he did it or didn't do it.
Carol was always like that, you know. You could slap
Yeah.
her upside the head and she'd say, well, I guess I deserved it. It's all right.
Well, being the middle child, there was no win situation for me. I had 2 older sisters
Right.
that used to torment me, and 2 younger, and I couldn't hit them because they were girls. I
Right.
hit them back, and I had 2 younger brother and sister And they were little, so I couldn't do anything to them.
And we all tormented you. We all did. We all were like, you know.
And what's funny is history repeats itself because when Sue and I were coming up, then it was like Sue that was getting all the press. And
Yeah.
I'm flying under the radar. I'm like,
That was
I'm
bad.
wrecking the car and I'm doing all kinds of stuff, never getting caught. You know. And Sue
Sue was a troublemaker.
Yeah.
Sue was the trouble.
But that was a
But
payback.
that was not until we left Dublin. Though.
Right.
Yeah,
But,
too young then.
but when we were in Dublin, I blamed Jim for everything. What? Jim did it. And they always believe me for some reason. Jim did it. I was completely innocent. I didn't do anything.
I don't think they believe
You were baby Susan.
I was bad.
You were baby
I was
Susan.
rotten to the core.
I don't know how you made it to the age you are.
It's called the grace of God.
Then we had that dirty cat. We had a cat that we couldn't, the thing wouldn't go near the box at all. So I said, the hell with this cat. So I was working for Metropolitan Life at that time, so I got a box and I put the mother cat and the baby cat in the box. And I put my briefcase, which was quite heavy at the time, on top of the box. And I'm driving the team, and I hit the Marlboro, and the two stupid cats somehow pushed the briefcase off and they get out of the car. They get out of the box. One of the cats is on the dashboard walking. The other one's chewing on my neck. What the hell with these two? It was like 5 degrees above zero. So I stopped the car and I said, "Here, cats, out they go. Threw them out on the snowbank, you know, they went out to work." So that night I had to deliver a policy into Marlboro. So I delivered a policy and the woman says, you want to see something? I got these beautiful cats. Some guy put them out this morning, lying in the snowbank. So she said, "Want to see them?" I said, "No, I don't really." And she takes me over. You know what damn cat recognized me? That was a, you know, I thought I got rid of them forever.
The cat picked you out of a lineup.
I couldn't believe it. That cat would go up and foot.
Didn't we have a minivan stolen out of our driveway?
Oh yeah, no, the
That
van.
wasn't a minivan.
That was a bigger van.
Cadillac.
Yeah.
The final line. Yeah.
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 It was the crime of the century in Dublin.
Oh, yeah.
boy.
The Ford Econoline, remember? Got stolen.
Yeah, right.
Out of their driveway.
What?
Yeah.
You used to leave
When
the
we
keys in the
first
car.
moved there, Mom found all these little nice rocks and painted them all white and lined the driveway.
Yeah, I
It was
remember
really
that.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And then
remember
the
that.
snow came, and the guy came to plow,
Yeah.
and all I heard was bang, boom, boom, boom. So he stops the plow and he says, "What the hell's going on?" I said, "Well, we had these cute little rocks." Cute little... You're from the city, what do we know about plowing?
Remember that winter before I got married? The snow was so deep. Remember 69, I guess it was, or
Yeah.
68? The snow was so deep that you shoveled the path and the snow was still up to here. You had to walk in just in a path up to the house
Yeah.
because it was so deep.
Yeah, right.
And the wind plows would throw it up. You couldn't even see the house from
Right.
the road.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like driving down a tunnel,
Yeah.
going down 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we made snowbanks in when we got the driveway plowed. We made big
Snow fort.
snow forts.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
just
a
awesome.
complete
Yeah.
snow fort. You could stand up in it. They
Yeah.
were just.
We have a picture of me. Dick took a picture of me standing high up, like almost 5 feet on top of the snowbank, and the snow was still over my head
Yeah.
on the road. That's how
Yeah.
high the snowbanks were. Because they have those big plows.
Right.
I think the best story of all from Dublin is the little flags when they were fixing 101.
Mm.
Oh, oh, no.
That's We had the
I was
station
gonna bring
when
that up last night.
I thought about that today. We were going to the work.
they would give you a flag, and you're supposed to hold the flag and give it to the guy at the other end. Well, Mom would just take him and throw him in the I never used the car because they used to walk to work in the Dublin Inn. So I didn't need the car. And one day I had to go to Peterborough. And I stopped and the guy said, "There's all our flags." I said, "What did you do with the flags?" The guy kept
That must have screwed up traffic because they were waiting for the guy with the flag so he could send the traffic the other way.
Didn't screw it up for Mom though.
The other time was when she wiped out that Volkswagen down at Barnes Corner. She goes down, there was a guy with a Volkswagen parked on the side. So she goes down to the store for something, and she comes out, she backs up and went,
Oh, yeah.
Ready?
What did she do? She drove
She just backed up like it wasn't even there and just rolled up the side.
The front of it.
So she gets home and I get a call about 10 minutes later.
Because she never stopped.
No.
She just put it,
Does
drive,
your
keep
wife-
on going.
Does your wife drive a white station wagon? I said, yes. Well, she just wiped out my Volkswagen. What do you mean? She went back right up the front.
Dad, I was with her one time when we were on the Lower Jaffrey Road. We were in that yellow Opel Cadet.
Oh, remember?
And I'm in the back seat, and it's winter, big snowbanks and everything. She hits another Opel Cadet, like sideswipe. An Opel Cadet goes up on the snowbank and tips over. And we stop and go, "What happened?" You know, we get out there and we go like, help this lady out. And that was it. It was like another one of Mom's accidents. You know?
Must have cost you a fortune for car insurance.
We almost had an accident in the driveway. She almost hit the back of my car. I think, how am I going to explain that to the children? Wasn't she going down to the Peterborough one time with you when she had a rum up on the sidewalk or something?
I don't remember that one.
And he turned around and said, "What, are you drunk again?"
Oh no, that was we were actually at the IGA there in Peterborough, and Mom was buying like 3 cases of beer, and you know they're checking her out and it's like you know and they're punching it in and everything. It's like she'll have this drunk by like midnight. Mom says, "Jimmy!" I'll tell you what, though, you know, Mom still had accidents when she moved to Florida. Like, she used to come visit Sue, and she had this big Ford LTD. You remember the Ford LTD?
Yeah, I gave it to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it was
she would,
like the living room.
she would back out of Sue's driveway. She kept hitting this mailbox and bending it over. You know, next day, now I lived right next door. Next day, the guy was out there. We called him Lester Polyester because he wore polyester suits.
Yeah.
So he'd go out there and he'd straighten that mailbox up, but he'd have to cut some off, so he'd bury it a little lower. So, like a year later, that thing was like this far off the ground. He kept burying it and lowering it down. Mom kept like plowing into it. The LTD. And she kept going, you know, right? She'd back over.
She would never
back
stop.
Like,
She would hit somebody, pull out, park in another spot.
Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell your father.
don't say it.
That's where you got that, Mom.
All the women in your
I
family
actually
did.
remember you doing that once at the work, Mom.
I left them a note.
No,
Oh, yeah.
I got out, I moved, but I went and put a note on their window. I did. I put a note on their
Sorry, I
window.
hit you.
I hit you. There's my phone number.
It was like a
Sorry, I
silver
hit
car.
you.
There was a big black streak on the side of the car.
Well, Randy has a red car and I have a white car. And one day I looked at his truck and I go, honey, who put that white streak all the way down your car? And he looked at me, and I looked at my car. A white spot rubbed off my car. I was like,
Apparently you kept going too.
I scraped his car all the way down this morning. I never noticed it. It was like, honey, you did that to your car.
I remember going to park downtown Peterborough where we were today, right in front of the movie theater. And there was only like one spot left, and I was meeting some friends, and I happened to be there. And I pulled in, I think it was the old Rambler or something, or maybe it was the Opel Kadett. And I pulled in, and I scraped the car on both sides.
Oh my God.
And I came home, and a couple of days went by, and nobody really noticed it. And somebody went, "Oh my God, look at the car!" And I'm like, I have no idea what happened. Look at that. It must have been Kathy. I don't know.
White hair.
That's like the time Mom got into the accident on the highway or stopping no traffic, and she hit the back of a truck.
Yeah.
Or a van, big glass van, and it totaled like the front of the car was all
Yeah.
It had a big
bent
V in the
up.
front of the car.
Yeah.
Like I looked at the guy's car and said, I'm so sorry. I'm so glad it didn't do any damage to your car. I turned around and I went, big V in the front of the car.
And then we got home the next
The hood never closed
morning.
after that.
The next morning, she went and told Julie, "Oh, what did you do to the car? Did you crash it last night?" And Julie was like, I didn't do anything."
I just remember that they gave me the car then after that without doing any repairs to it. And it used to stall when I would take a left turn, which I had to take to get to work, and it stalled in the middle, so there was no power steering or anything.
Oh yeah, I remember turning into
And
that
they were
parking
like,
lot with no power steering.
That's the solution.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you
Keep
very
going
much.
around
Yeah.
the corner to the
Yeah.
right, saying that way.
Yeah.
I remember turning into that parking lot and having
Turn
the
it
power
things right, turn it.
steering failure, like.
Oh my goodness. The story, huh?
But Mom adapted really well. I mean, she learned how to. Mom learned how to make jelly, like grape jelly out of grapes, right? And all kinds of stuff.
Rhubarb pie.
Remember her homemade devil dogs that she made with
Oh,
chocolate
yeah.
I
face?
still have her recipe.
Do you?
I remember
those.
From the tomatoes.
Not Nanny making them, but
Yeah,
Mom
yeah,
making them.
Yeah.
Every time you wanted pasta, she just,
Yeah.
had it down the cellar.
Yeah.
And I seen all these little canals in the cellar, and I was gonna fill them all in. And I was talking to one of the old timers, he says, "No, that's a natural cellar hole. Cellar drain." And sure enough, when it snowed up and rain put down, they ran one out and right out the other way. Yeah.
It was a dirt cellar. Dirt.
Dirt walls,
It was
dirt
so
floor.
Wow.
damp and musty down there. It
Got
was
one
actually
and one in
scary.
there.
Like you're like, we
Well-
didn't know. You open the door, it's dark. It's like I don't know.
Well, especially the what do they call
Root
it?
cellar.
The root cellar.
Yeah.
It was solid spider webs.
That was scary.
Same way when I was talking about painting the house, and they said you only paint two sides at a time. You don't paint the whole house. And I was shocked when I said I'm gonna paint the whole house, and they said why? I said why not? And then when of course when we put that color other than white, everybody was shocked.
Oh yeah, that was big.
People would drive by total strangers and beat the horn and go. Like,
It's like a
one
mustard
guy
color.
said, looked like a baby diaper factory exploded. You know, I'm paying good money for this paint.
Yeah, for like 2 months after that, we'd walk into the general store, into Charlie Bird's store, everybody would stop talking, because you knew they were talking about the house. True.
That color grew on them though. Remember they liked it. for too
Mustard
long.
gold. Mustard gold.
Remember?
20 gallons of paint and 25 cases of beer.
That's when your uncles came up to help paint. Remember?
Yeah, right. And they were both deaf as a post. And I was on the top floor, and I started to slide. I lost my balance, and I'm yelling, "Hey!" I got one beer, a beer in one hand and a paintbrush in the other hand. They're both deaf as anything. Right by And 2 weeks later, I'm walking around picking up the beer tabs. You know, from the cans.
Yeah, the pop
Pop
top.
tops, yeah.
And then I had this box that I made to keep out the squirrels and all from the garbage. So a couple of weeks after they left, I happened to move the box and they painted right around it. And we actually drank him out of beer that weekend.
Yeah.
The only good, so I have no more beer. Don't paint any more houses.
That was the time Aunt Maisie decided to pierce my ears.
Right.
Oh, that's
Wanted to
right.
have ears,
Yeah,
pierced
I
ears.
got my ears pierced at
So
the
she
same
took
time.
an ice cube,
Yeah.
held it on my ear, and then stuck her earring through my ear.
Yeah. I did, and mine was done the same weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, mine are a little crooked still because she was
Yeah.
half in the bag. when
Yeah.
she did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they used to pierce your ears. Just put ice cubes out so it was frozen. And I got mine pierced that way.
I don't know
Always
that they
took a
used to
needle through it.
use someone else's earring though.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah,
not.
yeah.
No, well, she used a pair of her earrings because I didn't
Right.
have any earrings.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had to be careful to send them back to her when the 6 weeks was up. Healed up. You know, when we got married, I mean, I was 19. I'd only been to one wedding, and that was Patty and Mark's wedding. You know,
Can I stop bleeding?
Harry's daughter, Patty.
Yeah.
Big New York wedding, champagne fountains,
Oh,
open
yeah.
bar. It was this big blowout wedding. So when we got married, I didn't know anything. You know, I didn't know. And Mom and Dad, they had never done it before. So we didn't have a photographer. We just had people taking snapshots. And I got thank you cards. And then Mom came up with the idea of having a picture of you guys printed on your thank you cards. Well, that seemed like a good idea, but we didn't have a lot of pictures. We had to wait until people sent us the pictures. So I had written out cards to I think I wrote one to Joe and Helen and a couple of people, and then Mom came up with that idea, so I waited to write the rest of them. Well, then the pictures never got done, and blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, Maisie is going bonkers because she never got a thank you card, and Joe and Helen did. Oh my gosh, it was awful. And then it got to be so long afterwards, it was embarrassing to even write the thank you.
Right,
It was
right.
awful,
Yeah.
awful.
I remember you told me that you were quitting school and getting married. And you got upset because I didn't go. I was watching a John Wayne movie.
Poppy, I always thought that was so mean when Mom told that story. She said, "Why do you want to go do a stupid thing like that?" And I thought, "Oh, Poppy, that's such a mean thing to say." And then I found out she was 19. They were dating for like 6 months. She was going to drop out of school.
And then you
I
found
never
out
heard
it was
the
your
whole
father.
story. Yeah, you never took your eyes off the television screen. You said, "Well, if you want to go and do something stupid like that, I guess I can't stop you." I was in the room crying. Mom was crying.
Why?
That time I was worn out raising all you kids. I didn't have any
Why would
emotion.
Mom cry?
He was thinking that the cost of the wedding would be less than the
Right.
remainder of the
Yeah.
school.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then he got upset again when I got up to make a speech. And I said, I didn't lose a daughter, I gained a mustache. So upset I got up there. You know, go home.
Remember after you had the heart attack, you said to the doctor, "I want to know how soon I can watch football and have sex in that order."
And I remember you had to give up smoking cigarettes, and there was a cigarette called Doral, and they used to have this commercial, and they dance on the cigarettes would dance across TV, going, "Smoke me, smoke me." And I was about this commercial, "Smoke me, smoke me, smoke me." And we got you hooked on the soap operas. All My
Yeah,
Children
right, yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
One Life to Live, General Hospital,
Oh, yeah.
One Life to Live.
Yeah.
Because Daddy was homesick from the heart attack, and
Yeah.
he'd turn him on every day. So I'd come home and I go, "So what happened today?"
And I was having a heart attack, I didn't know. We were bringing furniture
Yeah,
down here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I go to the doctor and he said, "You're having a coronary." So he calls Peterborough. Well, the guy that had the ambulance also was the undertaker. The ambulance was busy, So he brings a hearse.
Oh no.
So I get in the hearse, and the thing that really killed me in the hearse was air conditioning. So we drive down to Keene, to the hospital, and we back in, and the nurse comes out and says, no, it's around the corner. So I open the door and I step out, she almost out of the house.
Dad, I thought we were on our way to Canada.
No.
We were on our way somewhere.
Oh, no.
We were on our way somewhere.
Mom and
No,
Dad.
to visit you.
Yeah, Mom and Dad were coming down to visit us.
Oh.
That was in 1970, not 71.
No,
Because we got married in 69, and it was right
That
after
was
we got married.
1970.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last
Yeah,
night you said 71.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
That's what
were,
we built from your wedding.
yeah, we were getting ready to go visit
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and that's when Dad was,
Yep.
starting to feel bad and thought it was indigestion at first. Remember when that happened? Yeah.
Then I had cardiac arrest in the hospital. And then I come home, eventually, I think 40 days or something.
Yeah.
And one day I happened to be home and I was getting chest pains, and Carol was home.
Yeah.
And I said, Carol, I think I need to go back to the hospital. She gets to go, I was on a heart attack. Oh no! I felt so bad about that thing in the hearse instead of an ambulance. They never sent me a bill.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. They said the hearse and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Like, this will save us a trip in case you don't make it.
My boat with the guy,
And then we would have got a bill, right? Yeah.
So I was laying on the gurney in the hospital, and I'm going like this, and the doctor says, what do you want? I said, I want a cigarette. What are you kidding me? I took the cigarettes, threw them down. But Mom still smoked.
Yeah.
And all the time I was home on disability, if I could have found one cigarette,
So
she took them all to work.
She probably went outside and smoked and stuff.
Yeah,
Well, we used to catch her. We used to catch her smoking up in the bathroom.
Or out back by the shed, by the chicken shed, yeah.
And then when she quit smoking, when she did quit, she was sucking popsicles all the time. She gained about 20 pounds. She always had a popsicle in her mouth. And then she downgraded to chewing gum. She
Yeah.
always had chewing gum in her mouth. Had to have something in her mouth
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's tough to quit.
Oh, she fell asleep.
And then today, Sue and I drove through Peterborough and took a left and went down, and she goes, I don't remember that cemetery being there. And I go, yeah, the hospital used to be right up above it. And the joke was that all the old people that would pass away, they just open the chute and shove them into the cemetery below. We went by the old Catholic church where Kathy and I got married.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Drove up by
I
the
didn't
old
get that.
school.
Yeah, I
It
would
was
like to
cool.
have seen that.
We saw the Memorial Hospital today in Peterborough.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
We didn't go
That
by.
thing was huge.
Yeah.
When I had the accident with the car and Mom broke her nose, it was like a clinic.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
had
it
a
was a
nose
little-
set for her nose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had this guy working that worked for Yankee Magazine. I forget his name. He wasn't one of the founders when he
Right.
came to work there. And he had some kind of a problem, so they sent the ambulance up to Dublin and they took him down. And that's how small the hospital was. I had to go from the ambulance back then. You had to go down the flight of stairs to get into the emergency room. And they dropped him off the.
Oh my gosh, off the gurney?
They flipped him off the stretcher. He was so upset. He was more upset about that than whatever they had wrong with him. Forget that guy's name. He was a real character anyway.
I remember the year that Jim got rheumatic fever. Remember that morning? He comes down. He can't move his legs. He's paralyzed.
It was one leg first.
Oh, it was one leg first.
And I thought I just twisted the ankle. So
Right.
Yeah, I remember he came down the stairs. On his hands, on his just
butt,
kind of like
yeah.
on his butt. Came down the stairs, and I don't remember a whole lot after that. But I remember you were at the hospital, and I don't remember
It was real serious. Real
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah, but that was before your heart attack, though. That was way before.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, I must have been away at
Yeah,
school because I
yeah.
don't remember that at all.
I remember going to the hospital and It seems like you were always watching Speed Racer. Remember that show?
It's a popular cartoon at that time, Mike.
And eating ice cream.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember Mike was in the hospital with diverticulitis.
Yeah.
Really?
And I went to see him, and one of the people sent a card with $1 in it. So I said to Mike, well, I'll take the $1 home and save it for you, somebody might steal it. He said, somebody steal from a kid?
Yeah. Dad would steal from a kid.
I still owe you that $1.
Do you remember?
Plus the interest is now $100.
Yeah. Who did I get my tonsils taken out with? Remember when I had my tonsils taken out? Was it you? No, I think it was Mike. Did you have your tonsils taken out? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my tonsils taken out, and at the same time they thought, well, we're doing one, why don't we do another one? Two for one price. But I remember being in the hospital, and the only good thing about having your tonsils out was that you could eat all the ice cream that you wanted.
Yeah.
The bad news was you didn't really feel like eating ice cream.
Jim, did you have your tonsils out? I thought you did.
Yeah.
I think you did, yeah.
Yep.
I don't think
But I remember
I
when
didn't have mine out.
when I had that rheumatic fever though, at the end, when they figured out what it was and everything, I came home and you bought me a new bike. You remember? It was a bike with a speed shifter on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the hottest bike in town.
Yeah.
Couldn't even drive it probably for a couple months. Because I was, but that was cool.
I remember the bike that I rode most of the time we were in Dublin was this huge black and white Schwinn that weighed a ton.
Yeah.
I could barely hold it when I was trying to walk it up the street, because I couldn't ride it up the street. It was too damn big and heavy.
I had
But
one
it was
like
great
that.
going down hills.
Yeah. I had one like that at J.C. Higgins, and remember when we lived in Rutherford, and there was steps up to the house,
Yeah.
and I had to try to get that J.C. Higgins bike up those steps every night to put my bike away. Oh, it weighed a ton. Those old bikes were so
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
And we had
So about this big.
Yeah.
we had the high handlebars and the banana seats.
Yeah.
I mean, if one broke, we just have to take a bunch of other ones and try to piece it back together.
I remember Jimmy John and I actually did that. We put some bikes together and we put a small wheel up front and a big one in the back, and then
They have a couple of those up in the house in Maine that we go to. My
Oh,
kids
do they?
rode those when they were little. When
Yeah.
they grew up there.
Those were
I used
cool.
to get all the parts and put the different, different kind of bikes together. And we had that cat that was having the kittens on Christmas morning. And we're having the people coming over, and as soon as you come out of the front porch in Dublin, there
There
was
was.
a
They were
hole.
under the
And
yeah.
the cat kept going down in the hole to have the kittens, and I'd pick her back up and stick her in the closet with a blanket and everything else, so
right.
she'd have the kittens.
Yeah.
She didn't want them there.
And she kept going out, and that's where she wanted to have the kittens.
Yeah.
So I finally grabbed her, she had the kittens, I brought them all in, except one.
Oh,
One I didn't get to, When I went out the next door with a little bowl of snow, and a bowl of ice. But she had those kittens, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them.
remember
That was that white cat.
Yeah.
No, that couldn't be
No.
the white cat, he was a male.
No, it was she was all different colors. She was
Calico.
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 But
Let me out.
one of the cats had her kittens on Jim's bed.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember.
One of the cats had the kittens
Yeah, I
on
remember
Jim's
some
bed.
of
He was
that.
in bed and the cat had kittens on his
Yeah,
blanket, and then she
yeah.
cleaned them all up and brought them into my room, put them on my bed. She had the kittens all over.
We had a lot of cats. We went to a
Yeah.
lot of cats.
Dad just kept taking them all and bringing them to the farm, where they could live free,
We must have got rid of that boxer that we had in New Jersey before we went to New Hampshire.
Yeah, we
right?
did.
Yeah, that was a cool dog. I remember that dog.
Duke.
Well, as Carol said the other day, we only got 9 years in this town, but a lifetime of memories.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it really
is.
we made such a big impact on the people that we interacted with. We really did.
yeah.
Big impact where they all have fond memories of us. So
Yeah.
that's a quite
Crazy.
Are you
testament
sure
to
they're
our
all
family.
fun? We've only heard the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you remember the good times, you know, you don't remember the bad times.
True.
I had a heart attack and, you know, I survived that. And, that was the only really bad thing that happened to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Most of my memories are about baseball. It seems like I was always wearing my Dublin cap.
Yeah.
Dad used to tell me I was going to go bald because I was wearing that cap too much. And that's all I did all summer was play baseball.
Yeah.
When we went to the beach, to the lake, like we could, you know, swim for a couple hours, then you go play baseball in the cemetery.
Yeah.
You know, across the street. Then on the way home, we'd stop at the ballpark and play ball again.
Right.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait for games to happen. you know.
Right.
And if it was a chance that it was going to get rained out, I get so bummed out. 'Cause I got my uniform on and ready to go, and then the rain comes. Oh, geez, we can't play baseball today.
Jim would go up to the beach in the summertime, that was it. Never took a swimming trunk. Never took a bath, a shower, nothing. I was
For
thinking of
2
putting a
years.
dog collar on.
Hey.
You went up to the beach in the summertime
Yeah,
in Dublin.
yeah.
You never took your bathing suit off.
I know. I wrote about it in your book. I wrote the story in the book about how it was all about the whole day. We were gone all day.
Yeah.
So you thought, why bother taking it off? You're just gonna get up and go to the beach
Exactly.
next day.
Yeah.
And after I had the heart attack, I used to take Chip. Mom would drive me up to the lake. She was going to work, and I would take Chip and walk around the lake, to exercise for myself and for the dog. Well, I figured all dogs can swim. So one day I took Chip and threw him in the water. I had to go in the actual water and drink. Stupid dog couldn't swim. I couldn't believe it.
And wasn't there he had a puppy called Flaky?
Oh, yeah.
The chip off the old block was
Chip
Flaky.
Flake off the old
The
Chip.
flake off the
But he got wiped out by a truck anyway.
Yeah, it didn't live right.
Won't last long, yeah.
We was playing them with a yellow line. So
We had a few dogs that got run over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of them.
But when you
actually.
live, 20 feet from the main
Yeah.
road
Main
like
road.
that.
Remember when those big trees used to be out in front of the house?
Yeah.
Big, huge trees, and then they had to cut them down, and it looked so different after
Yeah, it
that.
did,
It
it
didn't
looked
look
bare.
the same at all,
And that woman across the street, when we got the van stolen, because I had to keep the keys in the car because I was on a fire department.
Right.
That's what they told us to do. So
Oh.
that case, in case the alarm rang, you ran out and jump off. You didn't have to look for the keys. So the woman across the street watched that guy come down the street and walk in and out of every driveway until he could find a car with the keys. And she told me a couple of days later, she says, I saw that guy. Why the hell did you call me? Call the cops or something. They found the van in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
In the state of Washington.
Oh,
State of
really?
Washington?
But all of the skis were gone and the ski boots and everything
Ah,
else.
yeah.
But they totaled it. So
They
I got a new
totaled it?
van. I
I
got
think
a
they
new
burned
van.
it up or something, didn't they?
What?
Wasn't it burned up or something?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. It was totaled.
yeah.
So I got that Ford Econoline out of that.
Right.
And I think that was big enough to put all the kids in.
That's when we went to Montreal and that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Little League, and the Scouts and everything.
And Jim sat on the beer. Remember you put Jim on top of the beer when we
Yeah,
left
right. That was in
Canada?
Canada. Yeah.
Molson's Ale.
The guy said, "Do you have anything to declare?" And I said, "No." And Jim said, "What about the beer, Dad?" I felt like leaving.
Someone it ends and ends.
That was like the one vacation of our whole childhood. That was the big vacation. Even though we went
took
to New
another
York.
trip. We took another trip to the White Mountains one
Oh,
time.
that's right. I remember that. Yeah, the White Mountains.
Wait,
yeah.
what about when you left me?
To the White Mountains. We
Oh
went
yeah,
up
oh
to
yeah.
What
a
about
cabin in the White
What
Mountains.
about when you left me on the train tracks there in
Montreal.
Montreal?
No, you
Excellent.
got
yeah,
left
yeah.
on the train.
You got left on
Everybody
the train.
else got off the train at the stop and you didn't. You were
Never
still
was.
in the train and you were
Yeah.
driving away and Mom was having a heart attack. Because there was nothing she could do about it.
I thought I was in the train station.
No.
Didn't get
I
on
don't
the
think
train.
so. I think
You
we
were
had all
on the
gotten
train.
off and you stayed on the
And we
train.
couldn't get, because the train was taking off, we couldn't stop it.
And how did we get you back? Did we?
I came back around again.
Yeah, we
No,
waited for him to
no,
come back around.
we drove to the next stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We drove to the next stop and
Yeah,
found you.
there I am. It's like, whatever. You know, I think I'm good for it.
Now
Thanks,
Jim's
everybody.
got abandonment issues.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought Mom was gonna have a heart attack. She was so upset. Oh my gosh.
By the time we went to the White Mountains, we didn't rent it. A customer from the Dublin Inn had a cabinet
Right.
there, and he gave it to
Oh,
us.
that's
Yeah.
right.
In
Yeah.
fact, we went up there, he had the beer in there and everything.
Yeah.
And we took the elders with us.
Oh, we
They
did?
had all kinds of
Beer and Dave.
places to sleep.
Yeah.
I don't
And
remember
as we,
that at all.
as we were driving into that town, the chief of police of that town was getting gas. And he had the pump in the tank and the car, and he got in the car and he took off,
With the thing.
pulled the hole right out of the tank.
Oh,
Yeah.
we took the whole drive.
Oh my gosh.
The guy's name was Brown. The customer's name was Brown. I'll never forget him. In fact, he not only had gave us the cabin, but he had beer. He had beer and everything.
Jeez.
That
So
made
I tried
that
to
made a big
replace it
impression on you.
When we left. And when I come back and he said, how'd you enjoy it? I said, gee, it was great. He said, what'd you do? Replace everything? I said, well, we were nice. He was nice enough to give us the place, but he said, no, I never do that. So we had a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember, I just
I
remember
remember a lot
like being
about
on
I don't remember it at all.
a kind of big hill, and there was a big field in the back with pine trees that we were running in and
Yeah,
out of and all
yeah,
that stuff. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
When did you do that? How old are you guys? Because I don't remember
We
that
were
at
pretty
all.
young because I remember standing up on one of the roadside overlooks, and I thought that's when I developed a fear of heights. I'm like, this is way too high for me. I'm like, I thought I was gonna pass out and fall off.
I don't remember that at all.
The time we went to Canada
Yeah.
for the Man's Expo.
Man in his
Yeah,
world. I
Man
think
in
it's
This
called.
World, the Floor Expo.
And we went to Mass, and
Expo
the whole
67.
Mass was in French.
French, yeah.
Kathy had just started college, so she got, the only
In high
thing she
school.
understood was the collection.
Yeah. Because they kept saying Nouveau Église, and that means new church. Taking up another collection for a new church.
And I had that Ford van that time, that had a Camel line.
Yeah.
And when we were leaving, they had the auto ban. There's no speed limit. So I'm
Oh,
flying
yeah.
by about 90 miles an hour, and I see the state trooper pulling some guy over, and he went like this or something. Like, oh my God, here I saw. I slowed down, I stopped, and I went back and I said, he said, did I call you? And I said, no. He said, well, then why are you stopping? I was gone.
That was the only time I heard Mom swear in her whole entire life. Remember, she made some kind of dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And she
You guys
dropped
were
it?
really drunk. You guys were really
What?
loaded.
We
She
were
some
staying.
big
We
roast.
had rented a room at a hotel.
Yeah.
Dad and Mom went down to the lounge and had a couple of beers, but they were drinking Molson's ale. It was a lot
Oh,
stronger
yeah.
than what they were used to. And my mother was like, she was carrying this gravy
Roast
over the
beer.
table, and it just fell out of her hands. She just looked at it.
And she said, "Oh shit!" And we all went, "Oh." We had never heard her say a cuss word ever. Oh shit!
It wasn't about the meat at that point, really, was it?
And we all went, "Oh man, I don't know what we're gonna eat now."
Oh my God, good, yeah.
But you just picked it up and put it back on.
Yeah. Mike said it's still good. It's still good.
That was a trip where you knew somebody who had horses.
Oh, yeah.
So we took everybody out to see the horses.
That was the Montreal trip.
Yeah.
And these were big,
Yeah.
17-hand horses, right? They were putting Kathy up by the horses, and Kathy gets up and she's sitting on the horse, and the guy gives me a foot up, and I go up, I stop, and I go up.
I'm sure you bounced up and said, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
That's the same trip that you walked into the play class.
Yeah,
yeah.
Kathy and I were in the record store, and I'm looking at the records, and I pick it up, and it falls out on the ground. I'm like, oh my god! And I pick it up. I turn around, I walk into the and I went, boing.
Oh, it's awful, Randy.
Oh,
Battery,
Okay,
battery,
okay.
that's enough.
Your arm must be broken anyway
Yeah.
from
No,
lifting
it's
it all
okay.
day.
Brandon,
It's
thanks so
okay.
much
Thank
for
you,
doing
Brenda.
that,
No
honestly.
problem. Thank you, Bren.
Yeah.
No problem.
Good memories.
No bad memories.
Well, look for the
We're out of beer anyway.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
We're out of beer anyway.
Yeah,
Oh.
right. Yeah.
Well, look for the play to be on probably CNN or NBC or something.
Yeah,
I'll let you know the
probably.
dates
Yeah.
when it'll be
Probably
shown.
PBS.
Takashi's got connections now, so I'm
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
We never got to see the other videos. You brought videos that he did, didn't you?
I have them, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to see?
Yeah, we could put them on the laptop.
Yeah.
Is the laptop up or is it down?
My laptop, oh, Dick's got it.